Quick film to show what's going on my farm. That's the water tank the government gave us when we had the PFAS scare. There's the sprinkler.
Slow down.
That's not the sprinkler. There's the sprinkler that we invested in to we were doing barley at the time. We had trialled barley and we had grown it successfully and we were about to plant barley, but we had a PFAS scare and we couldn't plant for quite some time. This is the reasons we haven't been using our water allocations. We're actually told not to use it for morally and ethical reasons. We had to do tests and find out if it was transferring PFAS from the river to the farm. We've since done the tests. We now know we're not transferring water, but my investor that was investing in growing the barley has since left, moved to Kununurra with his water and no PFAS. Which leads us to where we are now. We restructured so we could replant the orchard. We had already begun on the cleaning up of the farm. The farm was run down. I had to do a weeding program, get rid of the neems, get rid of the chonky apple trees and clear the land. After we cleared the land, we've gone into growing hay. We've done hay for a few years and we're now at the position, well, we were at the position at the end of last year where we could start the development of the farm, which was always the plan, to put in more bigger mango orchard. Now, this paddock that's been cleared is the first paddock. The first paddock that we're planting out this year. The trees have been ordered from Queensland. It's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of trees. There's actually 3,000 trees coming. The plans have been already made up from a local business in town. Top End Rural has done the plans and is ordering the pipes to put in. The plant, it's been going through for quite some time. The trees were ordered back at Christmas. Now, I had a brief conversation with someone on the phone the other day who asked me what my water usage would be, and I tried to explain that I was putting a new orchard in, and I was told, well, they're young trees, they're not going to need much water. We need the water back. It's been a bad year and we're actually taking the allocation off. Now, these paddocks have been cleared and are about to be planted. This contractor's already been hired to plant the trees. There's been another local business owned by Andrew Dalglish has been hired to put the pipes in at the end of this month, to lay the pipes. Now, this paddock alone is going to take 360 megalitres this year to water these young trees, because unlike Gavin tried to say on the phone the other day, they're young trees, they're not going to need much water. I've talked to the people at the research centre, and in fact they're going to need 4 times as much water, because they survive for the first few years on surface water. So we've got to keep the surface water up to them. But we have an allocation of 750 megalitres, which I've always told them we had planned to use. Now, the water for this paddock's going to take 360 megalitres alone. Grant never asked me at any stage what this paddock and these young trees would plant. He sent me an email today where he's saying I'm spending 50,000 on trees. Now this is hundreds of thousands. Now this is the paddock we've cleared to put the 15,000 trees in. This paddock here, it's a much bigger paddock. This paddock isn't being planted until next year. So luckily, well, we wouldn't have been able to do all the planting at once because we've only got 750 megalitres. But when those trees are established after a year, we can then plant this paddock, which will use more of our water consumption. Even though we haven't been using a lot, we had always planned, and that's why we brought this farm. It was run down. I've had to clear these paddocks. It was very expensive to get them back to flat, clear, ready to plant an orchard in. Now, this paddock alone is 1 kilometre long. This is where the 15,000 trees will be going. We didn't get this paddock didn't get cleared until I think it was in 14, and the very end paddock that we'll get to in a minute, we finally didn't get to finish clearing it until the next year. So it took 5 years just to get the paddocks back to clear. There is an orchard here, but it was run down, and we're in the process of repairing that as well. We'll get to that in a minute. This is the last paddock down the back. So this is for the 15,000 trees. And now also at the moment we've got going on, because of the PFAS, until we got the facts back that we weren't pumping soil, there was no transfer to our mango trees, we took our mango trees out of production for a while. In the meantime, we've leased other trees to keep our packing shed running. Both me and my investor have got some 20,000 trees in town leased to keep us running at the moment. We're now getting to the orchard that's being rehabilitated. There's 2,200 trees in this orchard. Now it looks a mess, but that's part of the process. They're being reduced because they'd been too tall for the picking machines to operate. That machine we're running past, by the way, it's running at $250 an hour. Now, when I spoke to Gavin, I mentioned that I spent $50,000 this month, and now that's running that machine to clean up this paddock. That machine costs $250 an hour, and it's been running for a month. There's also 3 workers in here that have been doing the chainsaw work to bring the trees down to height. You'll see when we get up to the end, some of the ones that are closer to finished, what's actually happening. They'll be brought down to 4 meters high. Then the local pruner will be able to prune them every year, which is Nick Hornsby. That was his machine that he's contracted to clean this up. Now, this is a big orchard. This orchard, because it's being really, normally would take 45 to 60 megalitres to run. Because it's being rehabilitated, it's going to have to be heavily watered till it gets leaf coverage back on. Therefore, this year, it could use as much as 100 megalitres. Now, with everything I've mentioned so far, that's taken us up to 460 megalitres we were planning to use this year. We're getting down here to where we started. We're going to leave some of the orchard so we've got trees to pick, but the majority of the orchard's getting this work done on it. You can see here where they're starting to come back, the trees. They're getting healthy again. Once the water goes back on, they'll become very productive trees in a year's time. During the picking season, this farm in 2 years' time will be employing over 100 people during the picking season for at least 6 weeks. In the meantime, we want to have a permanent staff of 10 on this farm. So this paddock that we're in now, we have reserved to grow small crops. It's 5 hectares. We want to have work to sustain our workers to go all year round. So we've got a permanent staff base. I'm not sure of the megalitres this paddock's going to use this year, but I know we're going to be growing such crops as okra and chilies. So we've got a longer, just to sustain our workers. That's in the plans as well. I've never asked at any time or consulted with. I've just had a short, brief phone call and asked how much water would I use this year to water my 2,000 mango trees. And at the time I didn't have no facts or figures on me. And I said, for those trees, roughly 45 megalitres. That's where Gavin gets his 45 megalitres. I do not believe at any time he was listening to what was really happening on my farm. Now, I'm worried because there's so many things being paid for and ordered that if I can't provide the water that I had to provide, for this project, that I'm going to be fit with all this bill myself and I'll lose my farm. The 1.5 million investment I've put in so far, my investors is planning to put in the next year and a half the same, which he is currently doing, hence the 50,000 spent this month. Now, in this decision from a brief phone call, all this is meant to stop, and all this employment and economic growth is meant to stop because he misunderstood what I was saying, or didn't ask the questions, or I don't know what's happened in this process, but I was trying to explain. This is a big program that's going on. It's employing a lot of people. There's a lot of contractors involved. The plants are coming from, what was the name of the company again? Oz Mangoes, us supplying the mango trees. Now, there's a lot of bills being involved. Like I've said, I've personally redone the pump, the soft starter, ready to fire up. We're firing up earlier this year than normal. I tried to explain that to Gavin, but he seems to, I don't know, I've got an email from Gavin today, and I can't understand how he come to any of the things he's saying in it, except the obvious fact that he didn't listen to what was being said. That's why I've made this video. Our business is about to go broke. And at the same time, I read in the paper, that's the packing shed which I'm not sure about the megalitres it's going to take this year, because it's been moved from Lansdale Road over to here. My investor didn't have enough water over there last year, and that's part of his reason for moving to this farm, was because of the water rights I had, and we were willing to put into the project. Now, I need to know, well, it's nearly, I class it as, it's nearly like a criminal sabotage. It's, I don't know how a business can be treated like this, especially at these times. Especially, yeah, we've got COVID-19 and everyone's saying food growth is the important thing. We grow food. I'm providing money to the community. I'm providing jobs. And on a decision made on a brief phone call that is meant to halt, and I'm meant to fit the expenses for this whole process. It will bankrupt me. Everything I've worked for my whole life, for my family, has been taken from me in one phone call.